The royal assignment. The rain hit the glass windows of the military base like soft bullets. Captain Mira Jensen stood still, watching the gray clouds outside. She had been in many missions before, on Earth, on Mars, even in the asteroid belt. But something about this new assignment felt strange. A tall officer walked in holding a sealed file. "Captain Jensen," he said, handing her the file. "Your new orders. Classified." Mira opened the file and read the first few lines. Her eyes narrowed. "Protect alien royalty? What is this?" "Prince Kale of the Valari Empire," the officer replied. "He's on a diplomatic mission to Earth. High Council wants him safe. You're the best we've got." Mira didn't like politics. She protected lives, not egos. Still, an order was an order. She packed light. 2 pistols, a translator chip, a combat knife, and her armor suit. She boarded a private shuttle heading toward the alien cruiser waiting in Earth's orbit. When she arrived at the Valari ship, she noticed the silence. Too silent. Valari ships were known for music, light, and movement. But this one felt like a ghost ship. A tall Valari officer greeted her. His skin was pale blue, his eyes glowing softly. "Welcome, human. I am Commander Threx. Follow me." He said nothing else, just walked fast through narrow halls. Strange symbols blinked on the walls. Mira kept her eyes open, her hand near her weapon. Finally, they reached the prince's chamber. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, Prince Kale stood near a large window. He looked young, maybe 20 in human years. His golden robes shimmered, and his silver hair flowed down his back. He turned slowly, studying Mira. "You're my bodyguard?" he asked. "Yes. Captain Mira Jensen, assigned to keep you alive." He gave a small smile. "Good. Because someone on this ship wants me dead." Mira's eyes sharpened. "Who?" "I don't know yet. But it's not safe here." Before she could ask more, Commander Threx walked in again. "Your quarters are ready, Captain. The prince must rest." Mira didn't like being interrupted. She gave Kale a nod and followed Threx. Her room was small but clean. She sat down and reviewed the ship's floor plan on her tablet. 3 escape routes, 2 armories, 1 med bay. Good to know. She replayed Kale's words in her mind. "Someone wants me dead." Was it paranoia or truth? Mira decided to watch more closely. That night, she took position outside Kale's chamber. No one had told her to do that, but her gut said she should. Hours passed. Nothing moved, until she heard a soft sound like air being cut. She turned sharply. A shadow moved along the far wall. Mira drew her pistol silently. Someone was crawling through the air vent above Kale's room. With swift steps, she reached the vent's side and waited. A black figure dropped into the hallway, landing quietly. Mira didn't wait. She tackled the figure, slammed them against the wall, and pressed her pistol to their head. "Who sent you?" she growled. The attacker hissed, pulled a hidden blade, but Mira knocked it away. Alarms started to ring. Footsteps came rushing. Commander Threx arrived with guards. "What's going on?" he shouted. "Found this sneaking into the prince's room," Mira said, holding the attacker down. Threx frowned. "This is a misunderstanding. The attacker is part of our night patrol." "With a knife?" Mira asked. The guards didn't answer. Kale stepped into the hallway, his face pale. He looked at the attacker, then at Mira. "You saved me," he said quietly. "It's my job," she replied. "No," he said. "Most would have followed protocol. You broke it. For me." Threx interrupted. "The captain should rest. We will question the attacker." Mira didn't move, but Kale gave her a small nod. "Go. We'll speak tomorrow." She walked back to her room, thoughts racing. This mission was not just protection. This was a trap. And she was now in the middle of something far bigger than anyone had told her. She looked at her reflection in the small mirror on the wall. "Stay sharp," she whispered to herself. "Someone on this ship is lying." The silent threat. Mira didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the small knife she had taken from the attacker. Valari metal. Sharp, lightweight, deadly. Not something a patrol guard would carry. Someone was lying. Not just one person, maybe the whole crew. The next morning, Commander Threx came to her quarters. His face was calm, too calm. Last night was unfortunate, he said. The man you stopped is being held. Internal review will handle it. No need to worry. Mira stared at him. I'd like to speak to him myself. Threx smiled without warmth. Not allowed. Valari law. She nodded slowly, saying nothing. But inside she knew. They were covering it up. After breakfast, she went to see Prince Kale. 2 Valari guards stood at his door, stone-faced. When she entered, Kale was sitting alone, staring out the window into space. He didn't turn. Thank you. Again. You were right, she said. Someone really does want you dead. Kale gave a sad smile. I told the council. They didn't believe me. They think I'm just a scared boy playing politics. Who is it? She asked. You must have a name. Kale shook his head. I don't know, but I feel eyes watching me all the time, even in my dreams. Mira looked around. The room was clean, too clean. Not a single personal item. No books, no photos, just silence. This room feels like a prison, she said. It is, he whispered. But the walls smile so no one notices. Before she could ask what he meant, the lights flickered, just once. But long enough for Mira to notice a small flash in the ceiling. She moved to the wall panel and scanned it with her tablet. Faint traces of heat. Hidden tech. Listening devices. They're spying on you, she said softly. Kale looked at her, fear in his eyes. Even you? Not me, she said. But they're watching both of us now. Suddenly, a call came through her comm. Captain Jensen, report to the command deck now. She looked at Kyle. Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Kale nodded, and she left. On the command deck, Threx stood near the ship's center console, arms folded. We are heading to the Valari homeworld, he said. You will remain in your quarters or near the prince's room. No further movement is allowed. Why? She asked. Because your presence is making others nervous. You mean the people trying to kill him? His smile vanished. You're out of line, human. Mira leaned in close. And you're hiding something. The room went silent. Before Threx could respond, a junior officer ran in, panicked. Sir, the prisoner is dead. Cell cameras went dark for 3 seconds. When they came back, he was gone. Dead? Mira asked sharply. Suicide? The officer shook his head. Neck snapped. Clean break. Threx dismissed the officer and turned to Mira. This is exactly what I meant. You are too involved. Return to your room. Now. Mira left, but not for her room. Instead, she slipped into the lower halls of the ship, where the lights were dim and no guards patrolled. She opened a vent panel and crawled through the air ducts. She reached the prisoner's cell. No one there. The walls were clean, but she saw something strange. A symbol, burned lightly into the floor. Not Valari script. Something older. She took a photo and backed out. When she returned to Kyle, he was pacing the room. They're going to kill me before we reach the council, he said. They'll say it was an accident or illness or suicide. They already killed the attacker, Mira said. You're next. Kale stopped and looked at her. Will you protect me, even if it means breaking your orders? I already have, she replied. Then she made a decision. One that would change everything. She went to her room, packed emergency supplies, a pulse pistol, rations, and a small device with one function, emergency extraction. She activated it. 5 minutes. Later, a coded reply came. A hidden cargo ship was tracking her signal. It could intercept the cruiser within 12 hours, but she'd have to get Kale off the main ship without being seen. A near impossible task, but she didn't care. She had made her choice. She would save him. Even if it meant war, That night, she stood outside Kale's door again. But this time she didn't wait. She walked in, eyes cold, voice calm. "Pack your things. We leave in 1 hour." "Where are we going?" Kale asked. "Someplace safe, and far away from this floating coffin." Outside, the room-hidden eyes watched them and sent a silent message. "The human knows. Prepare the hunters." Breaking protocol, the ship hummed softly in the silence of deep space like a beast sleeping before it strikes. Captain Mira Jensen walked through the empty hallway toward the cargo bay. Her steps were silent. Her mind was not. She had broken her oath, triggered an illegal extraction beacon, and now she was preparing to smuggle a foreign prince off an allied ship. If she got caught, she'd be labeled a traitor to Earth. If she failed, Kyle would die, and maybe more after him. But she didn't care. Truth had a cost, and she was ready to pay it. 8 hours earlier, Mira sat across from Kale inside his chamber, watching him stuff a small data pad and a silver pendant into his travel pouch. "Do you know how to shoot?" she asked. Kale shook his head. "I was trained in negotiation, not war." She handed him a small plasma pistol. "Time to learn." He looked nervous but didn't argue. "We'll use the maintenance shafts," she said. "No cameras. Less guards." Kale looked down. "They won't just let us go." Mira nodded. "I know." Meanwhile, somewhere deep in the ship, Commander Threx stood in a dark room surrounded by strange tech. Holograms flickered with security feeds. A hooded figure appeared on screen. "Has the prince been eliminated?" the voice asked. "Not yet," Threx said. "The human bodyguard is interfering. She's dangerous," the voice hissed. "Then eliminate them both, quietly." Now Mira and Kale moved through the lower levels, wearing mechanic uniforms they had stolen from the storage room. Kale's royal mark was hidden under a scarf. Mira kept her pistol inside a toolkit. The corridors smelled of old oil and metal dust. Machines groaned like tired monsters. "You sure this will work?" Kale whispered. "No," she replied. "But it's all we've got." As they passed the power core room, they heard footsteps. Mira grabbed Kale and pulled him into a dark alcove. 2 Valari guards walked by, heavily armed. "Security has doubled," Kyle said. "They know." Mira's jaw tightened. "Then we move faster." They reached the hangar control room. Mira placed a small disruptor on the door, custom tech from Earth's black market. It fried the lock in seconds. Inside, the control panels glowed. One screen showed a civilian cargo ship slowly approaching, their ticket out. Mira started typing commands. But then, warning. Unauthorized access detected. Lockdown initiated. Metal shutters slammed down across the hangar windows. Alarms blared. "They found us!" Kyle shouted. Mira pulled him down just as the door behind them exploded. Smoke, shouting, flashlights. Guards rushed in. Mira fired, hitting 2. Kale crawled behind a console. A laser blast hit the wall near her head. She fired back, took cover, rolled, then fired again. "Go! Through the side hatch," she yelled to Kale. Kale opened the emergency vent door and slipped inside. Mira followed, dropping a smoke grenade behind them. They crawled fast through the emergency maintenance tunnel. It was narrow, hot, and full of wires. "We can't outrun them," Kyle said, panting. "No," Mira said. "But we don't have to. We just have to make it to the emergency bay." Elsewhere on the ship, Commander Threx stood on the bridge. "Send kill drones. Target both of them. Now." Mira and Kale reached the emergency bay, a small chamber with only one life pod, but inside stood a tall Valari officer, holding a blade. "You're too late," he said. "The prince dies here." Mira stepped in front of Kale. "No, he doesn't." Officer lunged. Fast, deadly. Mira blocked with her arm, deflecting the blade, then punched him hard, but he recovered fast and slashed across her shoulder. Blood. She ignored it, pulled her knife and stabbed him in the leg. He roared. Kale picked up a metal rod and struck the attacker from behind. Mira finished it with a shot to the chest. The officer dropped, motionless. Mira stumbled back, breathing hard. "Get in the pod," she said, clutching her bleeding arm. Cale looked at her. "What about you?" "I'll guide you from here, then find another way out." "No," he said. "We leave. Together. There's only room for one." "Then we both die," Cale said. "I'm not leaving you behind." For the first time, Mira saw something in his eyes. Not fear, but fire. She sighed. "Fine. We'll squeeze." They climbed into the pod. It was tight, but it worked. Mira hit the launch command. "Hold on." With a loud blast, the pod shot out of the emergency bay, breaking through the side of the cruiser and flying into the black ocean of space. Cale looked through the small window. Behind them, the Valari ship shrank into the distance. "We made it," he said. Mira looked down at her bleeding arm. "Not yet. Someone out there still wants you dead, and we just made them angry. Hunted in space cold. Dark. Endless." The escape pod drifted silently through space like a grain of dust in a storm. No sound, no light. Just the deep black pressing in from every side. Inside, Prince Cale sat pressed against the wall, knees pulled. To his chest. Across from him, Captain Mira Jensen leaned back with her eyes half closed, her shoulder wrapped in a bloody cloth. "How long until rescue?" Kyle whispered. Mira checked the small screen on the pod's control panel. 23 minutes, she said. "Cargo ship is on its way. Will it get here before they find us?" Mira didn't answer, because she wasn't sure. 20,000 kilometers behind them, a black ship moved without sound, without signal, designed for only one task: hunting. It belonged to the Silent Corps, a secret part of the Valari Empire. It did not take prisoners, it did not ask questions, and now it had one mission: eliminate Prince Cale and the human who defied orders. Its captain, a figure known only as Shadowblade, sat in the dark, watching the escape pod through long-range scanners. "Prepare. Interceptor drones," she said. "Destroy them before the humans arrive." Back inside the escape pod, Mira jolted awake as a warning light flashed. "We've got company," she muttered. Cale leaned over her shoulder. "What is it?" She tapped the screen. "Unidentified ship. Closing in. Too fast for pirates." "Valari?" "Worse," she said. "Silent Corps." Cale went pale. "They were only rumors." "They're real," Mira replied. "And they don't care about laws." The pod began to shake. Outside, 3 small black drones appeared like insects, each armed with precision lasers. Mira grabbed the pod's manual override stick. "Hold tight." She jerked the controls to the left, spinning the pod as the drones opened fire. Beams of light missed them by inches. The heat from one blast burned the outer shell. Cale screamed as the pod rolled upside down. Mira gritted her teeth. "We can't outrun them. We have to fight." Cale looked at her. "With what? We're in a tin can." She pointed to a hidden panel. "That tin can has an emergency turret." She opened the panel, revealing a joystick and trigger. "You're gonna shoot." Kyle hesitated. "Me? You want to live?" "Aim and fire." Kyle nodded and grabbed the turret controls. Mira focused on keeping the pod moving in unpredictable patterns. The first drone came close. Cale fired and missed. "Again!" Mira shouted. He fired again. Direct hit. The drone exploded into sparks. "Yes!" Cale yelled. "2 more!" The second drone fired. The pod took a hit. Systems flickered. Cale shot back, grazing its wing. The drone spun but recovered. "They're adapting," Mira said. Just then, the cargo ship's signal pinged on the screen. "Incoming rescue ship," Mira said. "But we have less than 1 minute." The second drone locked on and fired. The pod shook violently. Smoke filled the cabin. Cale coughed. "We're not going to make it." Mira pressed a final command. "Manual ejection. Now!" A blast opened the back of the pod. A second, smaller escape chair launched out with both of them strapped in. The pod, behind them, exploded, taking the last drone with it. They flew freely through space, cold air biting at their faces until the cargo ship appeared above them and caught them in its tractor beam. Inside the cargo ship, they collapsed onto the floor of the ship's bay. "Get medical," someone shouted. Mira tried to stand but collapsed. Cale caught her. "She's hurt." A man in a long coat walked over. Scarred face, one cybernetic eye. "Mira Jensen," he said. "Never thought I'd see you again." She looked up weakly. "Hello, Dax." Later, Mira lay on a medical bed, arm in a sling. Cale sat beside her. "Who is he?" he asked. "Old contact," Mira said. "Used to run black ops for Earth. Now smuggles cargo and information. Can we trust him?" "Not really," she said. "But he owes me, and he hates the Valari Council." Cale frowned. "They sent killers after us." "Not just you," Mira said. "They want to erase the truth." Cale reached into his pouch and pulled out a small chip. "This," he said, "is the truth." Mira leaned in. "It has recordings, messages, secret orders. I stole them from my uncle's private database." Mira stared at the chip. "What's on it?" Cale looked at her. "Evidence that my family killed my brother, and that they're planning to turn the alliance with Earth into a trap." Mira sat back, stunned. "They're going to start a war," she said. Cale nodded. "Unless we stop them." In the dark of space, the black ship turned away, not defeated, only delayed. Shadowblade opened a new order from the High Council. Track them, learn their plan, then kill them both. The truth revealed. The cargo ship floated near a dead moon. No lights, no signals. It was a forgotten rock in the corner of a forgotten system. The perfect place to hide. For now, Captain Mira Jensen stood in the control room, staring at the stars, her injured arm resting in a sling. Behind her, Prince Cale paced like a lion in a cage. "We have the data," he said. "Let's go public. Send it to Earth, to the Valari Council, to everyone." Mira didn't turn. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "If you do that now, they'll just bury it, twist the truth, make you look insane. Or worse, a traitor." Kyle frowned. "Then what do we do?" "We find someone who will believe us, someone powerful enough to make the truth matter." "Who?" he asked. "General Arden, former Valari war hero, retired early. Some say he was forced out because he started asking the wrong questions." Cale nodded slowly. "I've heard of him. He's off-grid," Mira said. "But I know someone who can find him." 3 hours later, in a dark room below the cargo bay, a small round table, dim light, old tech buzzing quietly. Mira, Cale, and Dax, the scarred smuggler captain, sat in silence. Dax lit a thin metal cigar. "You're asking me to track the most paranoid man in the galaxy. You know that, right?" "You owe me," Mira said. "I do," Dax agreed. "But helping you makes me a target. The silent core doesn't miss twice." Mira leaned forward. "I'm not asking for help. I'm asking for a chance." Dax exhaled smoke. "Fine. I'll put out the signal. If Arden's still breathing, he'll answer." Somewhere on the Valari homeworld, a large hall made of black crystal. Gold banners hanging above a throne. A woman stood at the center. Tall, graceful, deadly. Queen Solana, Cale's mother. Beside her, Commander Threx knelt. "They escaped," he said. "But not clean. We tracked their pod to a cargo ship." "Do they have proof?" Solana asked. "Yes. They found the files." The Queen was silent for a long time. Then she spoke one word. "Burn them." Back on the cargo ship, the signal came in just before midnight. An encrypted voice message played on Dax's old terminal. "Meet me at ruins of Zethor 9. No weapons, no tricks." Mira turned to Cale. "Get ready. We're meeting your last hope." A day later. The ruins of Zethor 9A, Broken Moon. Ancient buildings half buried in ash. Winds howling like ghosts. Mira and Cale stood alone near a collapsed temple. The cargo ship waited far above, cloaked. Suddenly, a shape appeared from the fog. General Arden, taller than expected. Older. Armor worn but still strong. A deep scar across his neck. His voice was like stone. You brought trouble with you. Kyle stepped forward. We brought the truth. Arden stared at him, then looked at Mira. Show me. Kale handed over the chip. Arden plugged it into a small device. His eyes moved as he watched. Listened. Orders signed by the Queen. Plans for assassinations. Even discussions of Project Veilfire, a secret strategy to frame Earth for an attack, then break the Alliance and take their colonies. Arden's hands clenched into fists. This is treason, he whispered. Mira nodded. They've already tried to kill him, and me. They won't stop. Arden looked at Kale. You're brave, Prince, but you're not safe. Kale's voice was quiet. Can you help us? Arden nodded. Yes, but not alone. I have allies, old ones, hidden. Then he looked at Mira. But they won't move unless they see a symbol. What symbol? She asked. Arden turned to Kale. His coronation. Kale stepped back. What? I'm not ready to rule. You don't have to rule, Arden said. You just have to stand. Meanwhile, far above them, the silent core ship uncloaked. Shadowblade stood at the window. We've found them, she said. Prepare orbital strike. Back at the ruins, Arden's ship was landing when the ground shook. A beam of fire shot from the sky, turning a nearby tower into molten glass. They found us, Mira shouted. Kale ran for cover. Arden pulled a rifle from his cloak. Go! He roared. I'll cover your escape! No, Kale shouted. We need you! Arden grabbed Kale's collar. Then stay alive, Prince. Give them hell. The ground split. Mira dragged Kale toward a hidden entrance as the sky fell in fire. They escaped down into the ruins, into the deep, dark tunnels below. Behind them, Arden fought alone, holding back the shadows. Deep underground, Mira turned to Kale. You saw what they did? They killed your brother. They killed their own. They tried to kill us. Kyle leaned against a cold wall, breathing hard. I was born into power, he said. But I never wanted it. Now I have no choice. Mira put a hand on his shoulder. Then choose to fight. Not for a crown. For the truth. Kyle looked up. Fire in his eyes again. Then we go to the council. And we show them what a true heir looks like. Above, Shadowblade walked through the burning ruins. She found a single message left behind. Etched in the stone. You can kill the body, not the truth. Her eyes narrowed. Then we kill the truth next. The rescue and the sacrifice. A cold silence filled the ancient tunnels. Captain Mira Jensen leaned against the wall, blood dripping from a fresh wound on her leg. Kale crouched beside her, breathing fast, eyes filled with both fear and rage. Above them, the ruins of Zethor 9 still burned. The sky had been torn open by the silent core. Arden was gone. Either dead, or worse. Kyle whispered, We should have died with him. Mira shook her head. No. We survive. For him. They rested for minutes, then moved again. Down. Deeper. Through darkness untouched for centuries until they found it. An old Valari smuggler's bay hidden beneath the ruins. A single escape cruiser lay there, buried under dust and vines. Mira scanned it. It still has power, enough to get us to the inner belt. Kyle was silent. Kyle, she asked. He turned to her. This is what it feels like. To be hunted, to lose everything. They did this to me, to my brother, to Arden. They'll do it to others. Mira met his eyes. Then it ends with us, 2 days later. Near the Valari core sector, Mira and Kale docked with a hidden resistance ship orbiting a dead star. Inside waited an old ally of General Arden, Commander Leyen, once a respected fleet leader, now branded a dissenter. Leyen stared at Kale. You survived? Kale showed the chip. I have proof. And a plan. They briefed Leyen and his crew. The plan was insane. Kale would crash the royal summit. Not as a prince, as a witness. And Mira would get him inside. But first they had to reach the palace alive. Hours later, aboard the royal flagship Zenareth, the heart of Valari power, thousands of officers, dozens of assassins in disguise, and one prison cell, deep in the lower decks. Mira now sat in that cell. Her plan had worked, too well. She had used a forged code to sneak Kale on board in a diplomatic crate. Then she had surrendered herself to create a distraction. Now she was alone, wrists bound, stripped of weapons, guarded by two silent core elites. Her face was bruised, her lip cut, but she still smiled, because Kale was out there, and he was ready. Flashback. 1 hour earlier, inside the crate, Kale breathed slowly. Hidden beside him was a small bag of tech, evidence, hacking tools, and something else. Mira had looked him in the eyes before she left. If I don't make it, she said, you show them everything. You don't stop. Not even if they put a blade to your throat. Kale had nodded. You'll make it. She had smiled once. But if I don't make it worth something. Present. Inside the palace, Kale moved through the halls disguised as a servant, the chip hidden inside a sealed vial around his neck. His heart pounded. He passed guards, past senators, past the banners of his house, his family's lies carved into silk. He was near the council chamber when the alarms blared. Intruder detected. Deck 6. Female human. Armed. Mira. She had escaped her cell. But at what cost? Deck 6. Storage bay. Mira ran down the hallway, bleeding, limping, but still moving. A gun in one hand. Stolen security badge in the other. Behind her, 4 silent core assassins chased her, boots pounding the floor like war drums. She dove into a supply room, locked the door, and gasped for breath. Then she saw it. A data relay, terminal, linked to the council chamber. She jammed the chip into the port. Kale's message. Arden's recordings. The Queen's own voice ordering deaths. Broadcast live. Inside the council chamber, hundreds of Valari leaders sat frozen as the truth poured into the air. Their Queen's voice. Project Veilfire will begin soon. Earth will fall. My son must be removed before then. Gasps. Shouts. Silence. Kale stepped into the chamber. No disguise. No lies. My name is Prince Kale, son of the Queen, survivor of betrayal. And this is what your rulers have done. Guards raised their weapons. Some lowered them. The chamber was about to explode into chaos. Deck 6 Mira, still bleeding, smiled weakly as the upload completed. Behind her, the door blew open. Shadowblade stepped through. You never learn, human. Mira lifted her gun. I learned just fine. They fought. Fast. Brutal. Mira held her own, but her injuries slowed her. Shadowblade stabbed her side. Mira screamed but didn't fall. She jammed her last grenade into the core's chest plate and kicked her back. This is for Arden, she whispered. Boom. The hallway lit with fire. Minutes later, Council Chamber Kale stood trembling as 2 guards grabbed him. The Queen stood above him, furious. You shame me, she hissed. No, Kale said. I free you. The doors burst open. Mira stumbled in, bloody, burned, alive. She raised her hand, and dozens of resistance fighters flooded the room behind her. Weapons raised. A new voice echoed from the chamber speakers. This council is now under investigation by the Outer Alliance. Your lies have reached too far. The Queen dropped her staff. The room went silent. Outside the chamber, Mira collapsed in Kyle's arms. You did it, he whispered. No, she whispered back. We did it. But far away, deep in space, a single silent core ship drifted among the stars. Inside, a backup of the Queen's plan blinked in the dark, and a new voice said, Phase 2 will begin. This time, no survivors. The Trial of Fire, the Great Hall of the Valari High Council, had never been so quiet. Thousands of eyes stared at Prince Kael as he stood alone in the center under the harsh white lights. His royal robe was torn, the golden crest of his house missing. He looked nothing like a prince now, and yet he had never stood taller. Across from him, seated on her black glass throne, was Queen Solana, his mother, his enemy, flanked by commanders, judges, nobles, and assassins still loyal to her name. But her power was cracking, and Kael had lit the first fire. 12 hours earlier, Mira lay in a medbay chamber, her wounds stitched, her armor beside her like a tired beast. The doctors wanted her to rest. She refused. "There's going to be a trial," she said to the medic. "I need to be there." Kyle stood beside her, holding the data chip that had exposed everything. "They're calling it the trial of fire," he said quietly. "Not because of the evidence, but because someone has to burn." "Probably me," Mira muttered. Kael smiled faintly. "Not if we do it right." They had one shot, to convince the council that the queen had betrayed not only her own son, but her entire people, to end her reign without blood, to stop a war before it began. But not everyone wanted peace. Now, the council chamber Kael began to speak, his voice soft but sharp. "I was born into a crown of gold and but raised in a palace of lies." The room murmured. Nobles exchanged glances. "My brother was murdered by the ones who claimed to love him, and when I began to ask questions, they came for me too. And when that failed, they came for her." He pointed to Mira, who stood at the back, bruised but unbroken. "A human," Kael said, "from a world my people once saw as lesser. But she protected me when my own empire would not. She bled for me. She believed me. And together, we found the truth." He held up the chip. "Proof of Project Veilfire. Proof that my mother planned to break the alliance, to blame Earth, to launch a war based on a lie." The queen rose slowly. Her voice echoed like cold wind. "This is not proof. This is fear, weakness, shame." The words of a boy not ready for power. She turned to the council. "He has been touched by human corruption, by a traitor's whispers. We must act now, before this poison spreads." Kael stepped forward. "Then put me on trial, not just in speech. In truth, open the vault, let the evidence speak." The room fell into chaos. Arguments erupted, commanders shouting, nobles threatening, guards gripping weapons. Mira stepped forward. "Then let me speak," she said. "The trial shifts. Live. Truth projection initiated." Mira uploaded the chip to the hall's truth field, an ancient Valari device that projected memory, voice, and code directly into the air. One by one, the images played. The queen ordering Project Veilfire, Kyle's brother being poisoned, silent core commands to eliminate the prince. The council's own recorded silence during it all. Some gasped. Others wept. The queen stood frozen, but then she smiled. "You think this matters?" she said. "They will follow strength, not sentiment." She drew a hidden weapon and lunged toward Kael, but Mira moved first. She fired once, hitting the queen in the shoulder. The chamber exploded in motion. Guards ran in, weapons clashed. A voice shouted, "Protect the prince!" Another shouted, "Arrest the queen!" Kael stepped forward, raising his voice over the madness. "Stop! No more blood! No more shadows!" And to everyone's shock, he knelt. "I will not take the throne through violence," he said. "Not with fear, not with fire. If I must lead, it will be by choice, not force." The room fell still. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then an elder counselor stood. "Thali, boy, know the man I speaks truth. I call for a full vote." Hands rose one by one, then in waves, majority in favor. Queen Solana removed from rule. Project Veilfire cancelled. Silent Core disbanded. Hours later, outside the Palace Mira stood on a balcony overlooking the Valari capital, now quiet under a blood-red sunset. Kael joined her. "They want me to stay," he said, "to lead. Are you going to?" He looked at her. "I don't know, but I'll try." "You'll make enemies." He smiled. I've made worse. They stood in silence for a while. Then Kyle asked, "What about you?" Mira looked out, over the stars. "I was a soldier. Now I'm something else. Maybe I'll rest. Maybe I'll vanish." Kyle looked at her. "Or maybe, you stay." She met his gaze. "You still need protection?" He nodded. "No, but I need someone to tell me when I'm being stupid." She laughed. "I can do that." Epilogue. Far beyond the stars, deep in a hidden system, a black ship blinked to life. Inside, a new voice whispered, "Project Veilfire failed. But Phase 2 is already in motion. And this time, the galaxy won't see it coming."